Thanks everyone for joining us. This is our third copywriting clinic. My name is Kara. I am the copywriting team captain for Autonomy Unlimited, or the copy boss, as Agnieszka likes to call me. And I am joined by Agnieszka as my co-host. And thanks for being here, everybody. I know last night we got to learn a whole bunch about copywriting from Rich, so I think this is a really nice piggyback off of all that, where we can do a little bit more of a deep dive in this clinic. And so here's my plan for today. So we have leftover from last week. We're going to go through a couple of cold emails that we weren't able to get to last week. So if you weren't present on past weeks, basically the idea of the clinic is we're really trying to get some real world practice. So we're trying to bring in, we're assigning homework, always at choice, but things that you can do throughout the week and then bring it back into the clinic. And then we can go through together, make suggestions, improvements, and just make our copy the best that it can be. If you're new to this clinic, I'm so glad that you're here. Definitely, I'm glad that you're here. At your leisure, be sure to go back and watch some of the replays, particularly the first one. The first clinic that we did a couple weeks ago, we did a full overview of all of the different areas of copywriting, and the title was How to Not Break Trust While Copywriting. So we went into, the goals of each one, the voice and tone that you use. Did a really nice broad overview that is just provides a really nice foundational knowledge for moving forward. So we're going to go through these couple of cold emails really quick. I don't want to spend too much time on those, because then we're going to dive into audience research. And this is a really, really foundational piece to the copywriting process, because if we're going to be writing content for people, we need to know what they're searching for. So how do we do that? We're going to learn about how to do that here in a little bit. And then we'll have some time for some Q&A at the end, I think. Sweet. All right. Yeah.
I had an epiphany yesterday.
Ooh.
I realized that copywriting is best done in a group, because it's only when we connect the different brains together. It doesn't really matter how good you are. It's in the connection between the brains and the sharing impulses that we actually come up with the best ideas. That subject thing yesterday was exactly what I was thinking. In the newsletter meeting yesterday, we were working out some sexier subjects, upgrading some subjects, and that was a cool exercise.
And it was really nice to do that as a group, because each of us have different pieces or ideas or insight that the others don't have. So when we can bring it all together, we were able to bust out some really awesome subject lines, I think.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. All right, let's take a look at these cold emails that Mike wrote. All right. So ready for an alternative to the mainstream narrative. What if there was a radio station produced by passionate, liberty-minded people? What if that radio could help you manage the information overload? What if that content brought reason and logic back into your life? That raises your spirit and gives you hope for an abundant future. What if radio could raise your spirits and give you hope for an abundant future? Oh, I think we were in the process of working on this last week, and then we had to wrap up. So I think that these were like notes.
I kind of like that. What if radio could raise your spirits? And I think that should be the first sentence, maybe. Well, that's already down there. You could just move it.
That's way too easy. I'm just keeping these so that we don't lose them. I kind of like that as an opening line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We don't have a.
I don't know about the reason and logic, but I guess for Emeraldy people, that's important to keep there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this does seem it's only a few lines, but it's speaking to a lot of different people, which is good.
Like some masculine input. Don't all speak at once, gentlemen.
I was actually pretty happy with where we were, honestly.
Yeah, I think this is one that we had started, we got working on, and it was just the next ones. I couldn't quite remember when I pulled this up, but looking at it now, I think we worked on this one last week.
So what if we, okay, but it's not quite finished yet. So
Mhm.
I like the beginning. I like all the questions at the beginning. And then instead of that, can we say this radio station or this or autonomy radio or whatever you want the radio station is called that you have in mind? But I'm pretty sure it's autonomy radio. Can you capitalize radio as a proper name? Raises your spirits and gives you hope. No, like just grabbed it from below. It's the very next sentence.
I don't know. That's just way too easy, though.
Yes, and then a link, and I think that's enough.
Nice.
Right? Oh yeah, we would like your input. Or do you have any ideas for content? But you know what, honestly, so in this style of emails, the short form emails, right? This is it, like one call to action, really quick to consume, less than 2 minutes of reading, boom, 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 you click on the link, you go. The whole input thing would be another short email like that would say, hey, you've been, you know, on the mailing list for Autonomy Radio for a few weeks. Do you have any input? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we tend to, it can be really easy to want to put all these different things into one email. And it's really important to remember to space these things out and present things in bite-sized pieces. Because there is that saying that, you know, people need to come in contact with something 7 times before they'll make a decision. It's kind of like an average starting place. So this is just, the purpose of a cold email is just to open that door, to just get their attention.
So now what's with the Sabri Subi talking about long form content? Is that for the cold email or is that just for like follow-up?
I would say not. Yeah, I would say for when you get into more follow-up emails, then you can get a lot more long form. When you're in something like a marketing campaign, so if you know you have a lead magnet that somebody signs up for, and then you get into an email sequence, then those can get a lot more fleshed out and more engaging.
Because they're willingly there. Yeah.
Right. Where this is just like a completely cold audience, they don't know you. So you're just trying to open that door. Just crack that door open a bit.
Hey, let's look at the subject for a second. Ready for an alternative to the mainstream narrative. This could be better.
Mm-hmm.
Pablo?
Put me on the spot already.
I have roti in my mouth, and I'm like, oh. You see my face. I was like, what? Oh, what?
Anyway, well, no, we have to get you guys involved. Otherwise, you'll just be sitting here like this.
Well, what's your thinking, Agnieszka? Why do you think it should be better? Is there like shorter, briefer? What's the
well,
things?
Maybe shorter. And also, my first thought, like as I glanced at it again, was, oh, I have so many alternatives. There are all these YouTube channels that I listen to and all of this stuff. So how does this differentiate from what I'm already consuming? Like, why is this special? But continuous streaming, I think, is special.
Might want to get the word radio in there or streaming.
Right. What about radio? But then it's not a question. I was going to say,
well, ready for a radio alternative or a streaming alternative to the mainstream narrative? Just a suggestion.
Good suggestions. Good suggestions.
Okay, it's special because it's basically the voice of the rebellion fighting against the empire, to use the Star Wars metaphor.
I love it. That's what we could have as a subject for A/B testing. The voice of the rebellion fighting for the empire. And then in pre-header we can say your ideal alternative to the mainstream narrative or something like that. That's pretty funny. I like it. I have to go check on the boiling water. Hang on a second.
Sure.
You guys you don't need me. You can keep going.
Yeah. Thinking like like the radio that you've been waiting for. I think even that could be stronger.
It's funny Chris mentioned that because I was thinking of like the underground radio, like the radio station coming from like the Nebuchadnezzar from the Matrix. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the voice of autonomy.
Mm-hmm. I like that underground radio term. That's a good term.
Yeah, and remember the intro to every Peace Revolution episode, the soundbite that Richard and Lisa played. It went, "Breaker, breaker 19, I'm in outer space with a microphone." I don't know where that came from, but that kind of falls in line with that same concept.
I think that's a Beck song.
like a SO, like a Morse code, right? Beep 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 beep.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Perhaps it was because Richard's grandfather was a truck driver, and maybe he used to listen to George Norrie or that other guy overnight. They used to come up with a lot of topics, you know, aliens and just whatever. But that's just a guess. Richard would have to tell you.
Yeah, that was certainly a popular kind of underground radio. George Norrie. What was the name of that? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think that signal kind of analogy, like the radio signal, like trying to find the signal through the noise, is something that I would imagine resonates. You know, like having trouble listening to the signal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And to throw in a couple of more pop culture metaphor or analogies, analogy metaphor. They Live. We all know that movie. How did he win? In the end, he destroyed the communication network of the aliens. He took over. And also that same theme ties in with V for Vendetta. Remember when they took over the radio station?
Mm-hmm.
And another film that comes to mind is an old Christian Slater film called Pump Up the Volume, where he had his own alternative radio that he was doing from his van. So it's actually a very common topic across many, many pop culture themes, but it's very important. Yeah, he who has the voice has the power, which kind of ties into why the mainstream media and why we're all going wrong now, because they have access to the communication network.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, somehow tied that idea into this.
Mm.
It's not mainstream, but there was Bill Cooper had that his own radio station too, the Hour of the Time. So being not mainstream, I don't know how many people knew about it. I would say many of the people in this group.
Right, like a migration. Like people like to feel like they're part of that exodus, right? Like the mainstream exit, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What about instead of signal on that first, truth?
Mm-hmm.
Struggling to find the truth between the noise or within the noise?
Yeah, that's cool.
I think truth is a word that might be, I don't know, is that a positive word or a negative word these days?
I mean, I take it positive. I'm not sure that I'm the best judge on that. I'm not as far as on, the rest of the people out there, but truth is a strong word to me.
These would all make good taglines on the in-between segments on the actual radio stream.
Yeah.
All useful.
Right, yeah.
And that's why I wanted to keep them here, because it's especially with part of the brainstorm process. I mean, David Allen getting things done. I'll never forget his how he looks at brainstorming. As he says, quantity before quality. So it's just getting as much out as you possibly can. And as you start getting these out, and then you start looking at them, more and more ideas start to pop up. So I love the brainstorm process.
What if
feel
it
like
didn't say that truth? What if it said truth, like with a capital T?
I feel like it should be said that the line "Don't hate the media, become the media." But maybe I mean, I want to bring up that line.
Maybe
but
an email
like,
too for the series. I think that
yeah,
for the series, but can you write that as an idea, Kara? Like on a different line or something, or whatever. Because I think that we could write a whole email around that idea.
Can I just throw in struggling to find the truth? Do we need that article? How would it sound if you said struggling to find truth within the noise?
That's what I was suggesting from the beginning, but then I thought I was just being an immigrant, so I shut up.
Because because
I skip articles sometimes.
I don't know. I mean, what is the difference between the truth and just the general truth?
Well, I think that
from
an
audience point of view.
Yeah, without the article with a capital T, it's like a goddess almost, right? It's like a divine presence versus that truth. It's like it's one truth, one of many kind of thing. Whereas this is the big overarching.
And here's a
like
problem with the way it is though. Struggling to find truth within the noise. Now that could come across as some kind of religious movement as well. So should we be careful about that? I mean, you could argue, the truth is, but I don't know. I'm just throwing these thoughts out there as I think about them, as I look at this.
We like your thoughts, Macmillan.
So what if something like it's like this, say if this was the subject line, but then if the preview text had something a little, offering a little bit more of what's going to be in the email. So, the preview text could even be, don't hate the media, become the media.
And on top of that, it could be like, beyond pointing out the problems, become the solution.
Yeah, that R bump.
Beyond problems, become the solution. Or, overcome problems, leap over problems, jump over problems.
How about find the opportunities? Beyond the problems, find the opportunities or the solution.
Lies the solution.
I have a whole page of kind of alliterative taglines that I was brainstorming the other day with the idea of having a channel sub-dialect radio on the Autonomy radio network, and I don't know if it'd be helpful to just type it all up and share it. I could just rattle off a bunch of things.
Both
that might be useful because I want to share them, but I don't know if.
Stop talking about what you want to do and just fucking do it.
Just
rattle off a few and then share.
Demystifying the mysterious, declawing the capricious conscious controllers, dethroning the sorcerers of consciousness, decompressing, de-stressing, and denormalizing one waveform at a time.
Those are really good. I might be able to use them for a project I'm working on.
Okay.
Really not very 6th grade level. Just saying.
Yeah.
And they're too smart.
I have a hard time with that part.
You have to be able to put different eyeballs on, like a child's eyeballs or a 20-year-old's eyeballs, and then try to see through those eyeballs. It's never ideal, but. And so for copywriting, the eyeballs we're putting on is a woman. So if it's a woman, she's ironing, and her mother-in-law is on the phone, and she's trying to read the email on her iPad while ironing and holding a baby and talking to her mother-in-law on the phone. And then email has to get through all that noise. And I said something for a man the other day. It was his wife was yelling at him. He was taking out the garbage, and he was thinking about a work problem and then opening the email at the same time on his phone. And so still getting through all that noise, right?
So because of the time, if it's okay, I'm going to move on to our next topic of audience research. Mike, is that okay with you? I know there was still
with me.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that you still got some work done on your emails.
Yeah, much appreciated. Thank you.
All right. So everyone should have seen I put the PDF handout in all of the chats underneath where I posted these links. So you do have this to keep for yourself. So today we're going to be getting into audience research, how to research to find out what your market is searching for. So what I'm going to do is go through, we're going to go through one topic at a time. I'm going to do a little run through on these, and then we're going to do a little example. And I've got some real life examples of actual projects that we've done this for that I'll be able to show as well. So why is audience research important? Well, you have to know what's going on in a person's life and in their head in order to write copy that's going to speak to them. You know, if we want to compel someone to take a certain action, we have to be able to speak to them in their own language. Really, you know, like the saying says, you know, enter the conversation already taking place in your customer's head. So it really is a foundational piece. And even when, you know, we can think that we know everything about our audience and everything about our industry, but it's not enough to just think that you know it all. It really does take doing some actual research so that you can find out the exact vernacular, the exact words that people are using, the real problems and pains and hopes and dreams that are going on in a person's life. That's the way that you can actually write your copy to speak directly to them. So it is incredibly, incredibly important. So where does this start? The best place to get started, because you know, you go into just a blank Google search and you're like, oh my God, what am I searching for? The best starting place that I can recommend is called Answer the Public. And this is a free tool. I think you get, it lets you do, I think, 3 free searches per day. But what you do is you just put in your keywords, and let's just see, what do I have in here? One of the last ones I did was wealth management. So I'll just show you what this looks like. And then it pops out data on exactly what people are looking for. So at first it does this visualization tool, and I'll usually switch it to the data so that you can see. So these are all of the top things that people out there are searching for related to this topic. So then you can find out, what are the questions people are asking? What are the things that are concerning them? So this is all related to, you know, the different what, when, where, why, which, who. And then if you go down further, you've got propositions. And you've got comparisons. So it just gives you a whole wealth, and this is the best starting place that you can do to find out what your market is actually searching for on the web. And I will go back, we'll get back to that in just a little bit. So then you take those questions and then you start searching in forums. So, oh heck, let's just do this. So let's find a good question here. Let's go up in here. So, let's find one. Why not? How wealth management works. Sure. So then we'll just copy that. And there's a couple different ways then you can do this. So you can put in your question, and then you can just hit forum. And usually you can start to find some actual forums. You know, there's you can go into Quora, Reddit, there's all, you know, the major forums that you can do searches on, but then you can even find, in here you can find specific forums that are related to your industry. So I will come back to this. I want to make sure that I get through all these. So we got our online forums, and you can look through Amazon reviews, subscribe to email lists, join Facebook groups and read the comment threads. You're trying to find the exact language that people are using, and what are their pain points? What are their hopes and dreams? What are they searching for? What are the things keeping them up at night? So I kind of wanted to, we had talked about, let's go ahead and I'm gonna start this, bear with me. We're gonna do this over, because before we started the recording, new search, we talked about a couple different topics. So let's do about financial education? All right. Service a pyramid scheme. Is it legit? Can financial education make you rich?
So are those listed as the most popular? So the most popular is the one on the top, or is that?
I believe so. I actually have never gotten completely clear on that as far as the order that they're presented in. I believe that that's the case.
And this is all from data that Google makes available?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
This is what people are searching for in search engines. Let's just pick one. And then you can also, of course, I mean, to be honest, I don't really use Google except when I am doing research for a client. I use alternative search engines, things that are a little bit safer, but for the sake of the idea that we're doing some research, say we're doing some research for a client, this is the place where the majority of people are searching for things. So I have to succumb to Google once in a while. So then we can look at, let's see here. Let's look at this. Oh, is this actually a forum? Well, for the sake of time, what I'm going to do is I've got Quora open right here. So let's do financial education.
Do you subscribe to Quora? Like, do you actually pay for it, or?
I do not. All right, so how do I get financial education? So then what you're going to start doing is you're going to start looking in here to find out what's going on in people's heads. So I'm going to backtrack for just a second. So then the last part of this handout is to be able to capture the exact language people are using and catalog it into a spreadsheet. So how do we organize this? We're starting to get all this information. Then we need a place to be able to keep it and organize it. So what we actually do is have a spreadsheet. Now, this process of audience research is based on Sabri Subi's method. He's got, if you're not familiar, his book, Sell Like Crazy, is fantastic. I got it a couple years ago, and this is where I started learning how to do this for my clients. Since then, he's kind of advanced some of his processes. Us in Autonomy Unlimited are working with his quantum growth course and learning a whole bunch more stuff. So what I've done for some of this, because ethically I can't give away the resources that we've gotten directly from him in Autonomy Unlimited. So what I've done is kind of created some mock-ups. And what you can also do, I'm going to really quick, down at the bottom here in these action items, I put a link to his book. I'm pretty sure you can even get it for free out there. And then in his book, he's also got these free resources. And I've got a link to this here. And so these are a little bit older resources compared to some of the things that he's doing now. But if you go in here, one of the things that he has is called his Halo strategy. And that's what we're going to be talking about with these spreadsheets. There's also a couple other cool things in here. Again, this is free resources, so I felt okay presenting this to you guys. He's got the 80-20 rule. These are just some more personal things, your own time allocation audit, really valuable things that you can do on your own. And then the Halo strategy. And I think I have this up to show you. So this is, let's see if I can. This is the old version of his Halo strategy and what you can find for free from the resources from his book. So again, this is a way of organizing your findings. So you've got these different topics. You got hopes and dreams, pains and fears, barriers and uncertainties, a place to keep a glossary of verbiage and jargon. This is, I just got done doing a whole bunch of research for a wealth management company. And I gotta say, this is, it's an industry that is so far out of my realm of existence. It was like learning a new language. So I ended up with like tons of terminology that I'm still going through and getting specific definitions so that I can understand what it is I'm writing. So that's a very useful thing. And the way he has this old one set up is, most common, hopes and dreams, pains and fears, yada, yada, most common, second most frequent, and third most frequent. This is a really great starting place. And then I'm going to show you is kind of how that's been upgraded a little bit. So I created this. Now this is a mock-up of some of his more advanced spreadsheets and I wanted to make sure that I totally give credit where credit is due. Sabri Subi is incredible with the stuff that he's done with King Kong and growing his business and everything he does. He's like a wizard with this stuff. So how this is set up is just a little bit differently. So you still have your same themes. There's another added one of unexpected insights that can come up when you're doing some research. And then, so this newbie, intermediate, and advanced. So I've been looking, this is kind of looked at how familiar are they with the type of service that you're offering. So are they a complete beginner? They have no idea. They have very little idea of what you're offering. Intermediate, maybe they have a little bit of idea of your industry and what you're offering, but kind of not so sure. And then, those are really familiar with the service that you're providing. Source, it's really great to be able to go back and because, especially when you start going on this, because this is a process that takes several hours, especially if you're really putting the attention to it that it deserves. So being able to, when you've got, I'll end up here with like 50 tabs open of all these different forums and discussion threads, being able to have a place where I can keep track of all that and go back and reference it later if I need to. Very, very useful. And then I think I also put in section for notes. So I created this so that you can have something to have a starting place to be able to capture what it is that you're learning about your audience. So at the bottom of here in your handout, there's a link to the shared Google Drive. And within that, whoops, not that one. There we go. Got the handout from today. I'll go over the features and benefits spreadsheet in a little bit, and then the Halo spreadsheet is there. So all I ask is then that you make a copy of it. You can either download it to your own computer or make a copy of it and save it in your own drive so that we're not overrunning this template. So why don't I give you an idea of what this could look like after this gets filled up. So this is one, for example, that we did for autonomy. And we've got tons of stuff in here. So all these hopes and dreams, these are things that we found exactly from the language that people are using in forums and comment threads. We're finding the exact language that they're using and literally copying and pasting this into our spreadsheet. We got pains and fears, barriers and uncertainties, unexpected insights. Doesn't look like we filled out the terms very much. For convergent wealth, this is one of I was just talking about, the wealth management one that I just worked on. This one got really extensive because we have 2 different tabs. Because we had 2 really big audiences for this area of wealth management. It was private business owners that don't have any capital outside of their business. So everything is completely, all of their money is wrapped up in their business. And then an entire other audience that does have liquid capital outside their business. So they're, the pains, the fears, the hopes and dreams is all a little bit different. So we wanted to make sure that we had that particularly separated. And this one got really extensive. I actually got to a point where I had to stop and just like put a pin in it, because I was like adding all sorts of lines to this, and I realized there was so much research that I could do, that I could keep going in so many different angles, and I just had to stop.
Cara, can I ask a question?
Please.
This data that you had was provided to you by the wealth management company, and this was questionnaires that their clients had filled out?
Thanks for asking. There's actually so a very small piece of this. Out of this, there was, I would say, about maybe 10% of what you see on the spreadsheet was from direct questionnaires that they had done with their clients. But about 90% of this was done through the research that I've been talking about. So I went into, let's just for the sake of time. So what I ended up doing in here is actually going into, the first thing I searched was doing wealth management. And then it wasn't getting as much as, I could only go so far with that one term. I mean, this is a process where, you know, you're starting in Answer the Public, the tool I was just talking about, and you start with one keyword or a set of keywords, but that's just one. So there's still a lot of different keywords and angles to your industry. So this is a process of doing this repeatedly. So the first round I did was specifically wealth management. And I found a bunch of specific, I don't really like that one. I found a specific, some industry specific forums related to wealth management where I was able to get a good start on this research. And then the most recent round that I did, I searched for business owners. And I just started to get into the head of, you know, okay, so if someone's going to get into wealth management, we're focusing on business owners. So I had to just think, like, what are the things that's keeping these business owners up at night? What do they really want out of life? What are they trying, you know, what are they afraid of? You know, are they afraid of losing all of their money? Do they want to have something to pass on to their children? There's all sorts of these different angles. And so I started just going through here, and finding different topics. Just looking at the time, perfect. Like common mistakes. It's really beneficial to find ones where the people that are, this is kind of the tricky thing with forums sometimes, is you'll have a real person in your industry that puts out a question on Quora, but then all of the answers you're getting from other people doing, say, like the same kind of work that you do. So it's kind of trying to find the threads where the comments are from people in your industry. So this is really, again, this is an extensive process. I'm gonna try and like kind of go through this a little bit. Oh, hey, look, so as a business owner, what is the most frustrating problem you face while you go about running your business? Perfect. My biggest problem in this area is really me. I need to remind myself that I had all my skills, saw things I do, and understood business I do. And they would also be business owners, or I wouldn't be able to pay them enough. How long? This is like really good insight into people's lives, into what they're doing. You know, people get really in depth in these, and it just kind of gives you an idea. I looked at another one that was like, what's it like for someone that has, you know, 10 to 20 million in capital, and just like asking the question, what is your life like? And just going into some of those little things. And so then you're discovering, yeah, like, what does somebody with, you know, $20 million, especially if it's like capital outside of their business, like, what are they searching for? It could be, you know, investing. Again, a lot of these people are wanting to leave a legacy for their children and for their families. So it's coming in here and finding these specific things. Believe me, it takes a shitload of efforts to get your very first ping. Even this. So yeah, it takes a shitload of efforts to get your very first paying customer for your product. So I would take that, I would copy it, and go back into my spreadsheet, and that would be considered a pain or a fear. I have this completely filled up right now, so I'm not going to, oh, here, why not? Just for the sake of showing you. So then we would add that into the specific category. And again, there's lots of different angles to this. Don't skimp on this. It can kind of be a little unnerving at first. You know, you got to do a lot of searching to really finding the different areas that that you're going to get the answers that you're looking for, the really juicy stuff. You know, pains and fears. You know, biggest complication with large sums of money is taxes. So out of this, and so then what do you get out of this research? Not only do you, are you getting an idea of what's going on in their head so that you can write the copy to tailor to that, but you're also out of this, this is where you're able to create your lead magnets. This is where you're able to create your offers, because you're able to tailor these around exactly what they're searching for. So, you know, out of this, for example, like out of all this research, we're creating a few different lead magnets for this company. And one of them is about is about taxes. We've got some about creating your exit strategy. So your plan to sell your business and, you know, continue your legacy on. So there's lots of different areas with this. I'm going to move on from this one to give you another example. Totally opposite side of the spectrum. So this one is actually for pretty much a Hindu monk that we've been doing work for. So Bhakti Marga North America is the name of their organization. And for this one, we changed like the titles on here, and this is where you can tailor these to your different audiences. So for this, we had, you know, the newbie was considered a seeker. So a seeker was somebody that that is interested in spirituality, but doesn't really know much doesn't really know quite what they're looking for until they find it. You've got a follower that is interested in, that does know some of Hinduism, but it's kind of maybe on the fence, following a little bit, but not there quite yet. And then you got the devotee, and those are the people that are, you know, really devoted to their guru and to the movement. So the hopes and dreams and pains and fears are all going to be different depending on these different regions. So like, just to kind of.
Kara, I've got a question.
Please.
Do you budget a certain amount of time to this when you're talking to the client about, or, I mean, based on their requirements? Do you say, okay, I got 4 hours to do this, or I got 10 hours to do this? How do you?
Yeah, I think it would depend on the industry. So for something like this, or for something like convergent wealth, like we were just looking at, I would need a lot more time. And so, yeah, I would budget a minimum of 4 to 5 hours for this kind of research. And like I had said earlier, I had to get to a point and just stop, because, and I told the client that too. I was like, I could go on with this for so many more hours, and we just got to move on to the next piece. And this is something, you know, by having all of this captured and saved in a location, you come back to this as new insights pop up, as you keep going along in you know, your marketing journey. More things are going to pop up, and this is where you have a place to keep them. In like 3 months after, you know, we've kind of gotten the first round of marketing started, because a lot of this is trial and error. You know, it's testing. Things aren't often going to be, you know, when you come up with a lead magnet, or a new ad, it might not swing the first time. It's all about, you know, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, testing things out, and being able to come back. So for example, at Convergent, we're moving forward with the ideas that we've gotten from our research. But in, you know, 3 or 4 months, we're going to revisit this, and we're going to come back. We're going to analyze everything that we've done through the process, look at the numbers, look at the data, see what's working and see what's not. And we might likely come back and visit this and, you know, not necessarily start from scratch, but start with a new angle, start with something new in mind.
I have to say this is super helpful, because I read Sell Like Crazy and I was lost on the Halo strategy. And I kind of think now it's because he doesn't spend much time talking about it. He just kind of glosses over it. But it could easily just be a week of you sitting down 24/7 and doing research, which you might want to do depending on, yeah.
Yeah, and again, depending on the industry. So I've got, you know, another client that they do, they make cable railings for people's decks. Doesn't need more than an hour or two of research for something like that. You know, this is it's a small, like when you've got like just like a single product that you're selling, doesn't necessarily need, you know, 4 or 5 hours of research. That I think could be done in just a matter of a couple hours. So it just really depends on the scope of what you're offering. Like for something like this, like with Bhakti Marga, the potential audience is so vast. It's so huge. So it takes a lot more time to get into all these different areas and really, you know, find out in this vast audience, what are the commonalities? What are people looking for? What are their pains? And same with Convergent. There's a lot of different angles to this. Same with autonomy. There's a lot of different angles that we can go to in this. This hasn't even gotten near the amount of time that it could have spent on this spreadsheet.
Speaking of that one, you know, in looking at this, I'm thinking, you know, the way that autonomy is kind of structured is as a way to it's providing this kind of information through the interviews and the weekly you know I don't know what the heck they call it, but you know, all the feedback that's coming through from the students and from the graduates is basically feeding right into this.
Yeah.
So it's you know, what I like about that is you're, I mean, it's real much more thoughtful kind of process that's created to just kind of really learn the language in the really powerful words.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
Genius.
exactly, like getting that exact vernacular is so key. Like literally just copy and pasting exactly how they have something written, typos and all, just getting it exactly how you see it into these spreadsheets. Because that's, you know, we're trying to talk to people on their level, and so we have to know the level that they're talking at in order to match that and mirror that. I'm going to move on to the next topic. So topic 2 is 9 questions to define your dream buyer. This is also a really important piece that I'd say is, again, this is what we just did is the starting place. That's where you're just really, you're getting a starting place, you're cataloging what you're finding, you're getting your wheels turning. And then after you've done some of this research, then you can get into these questions. So where does your dream buyer hang out and congregate? Online and offline places. So what kind of social media platforms are they on? What kind of websites do they like to go to? Where are they searching? Offline, are they going to coffee shops? Are there specific stores that they like to shop at? There's lots of different. It's just important to know where are they at? Where does your dream buyer get their information? Are they looking at forums? Are they looking on Facebook for all their information? Are they going to a Corbett report for their information? There's so finding out you know, what magazines, what books are they into? Really, really useful for getting an insight into what's going on in their head. Biggest frustrations and challenges. A lot of this comes out of your Halo research, hopes, dreams, and desires. Biggest fears. What's their preferred form of communication? Is it texting? Are they on Discord? Are they, you know, do they prefer to be on the phone? Do they prefer video meetings? So, and with these days, there's so many different ways that we can communicate with each other. Knowing where your audience is and what their preferred mode of communication is really important. If you've got, you know, say like somebody in their 70s and you start communicating with them through a Facebook bot, a chat bot, it's probably not going to land very well. So finding out, you know, what is their preferred form of communication and trying to meet them there. What phrases, exact language, and vernacular do they use? Again, more stuff that you get out of your Halo research. And what does a day in their life look like? So, and last, what makes them happy. So I'm going to give an example of how this could be fleshed out into a full worksheet. So this, I cannot take credit for that. This, my lovely colleague, Tori in Autonomy Unlimited, she did this for Bhakti Marga, North America. And so came up with a name, age, and this is all based on research. So thinking about, you know, that one dream buyer based on all your research, what are they like? So, you know, age, education, relationship, occupation, income, location, interests, and then we get into those 9 questions. So again, so she goes into, all right, thinking about these spiritual seekers. All right, they're at specialty grocery stores. She goes to the gym and takes yoga classes. These specific Facebook pages that she likes. She went, I love Tori. She went all out with this. Very, very valuable that we've been using. I've been relying on this really, really heavily for a lot of my marketing with them. Goes to online shopping. So again, where does your dream buyer get their information? Usually searches Google on her phone. She turns to YouTube for tutorials. Biggest frustrations and challenges. Finding a balance in life. She's a mother, a wife, a professional with many responsibilities. So really letting your imagination go and fleshing out what this dream buyer, what their life could be like. I'm going to move through this a little bit quickly because we're getting low on time. You know, hopes, dreams, and desires. These are things taken directly from the Halo research. Biggest fears. And And these are really, you know, these are really valuable. Like think about when we start to write ads for this, and really thinking about that person, and like if they're afraid of rejection or afraid of not being in control, these ways that we can use language to speak to them and build some trust. Preferred form of communication, email and text, phrases and exact language. And so, you know, I want to manifest this. Acts of service is my love language. These are all really great and and when you think about this, you know, this potential person, absolutely, this is definitely the language that they're going to be using. Then gets really fun, like really imagining, so what does a day in their life look like? And like, this went down to like to the half hour in some of these, like, what's she doing? She checks Instagram, Facebook, she conducts interviews. And you know, and a lot of this is, it's imagination, but it's helping you to really get this grasp on this person that you're writing for and what makes them happy. And then the end result, this one she didn't actually get to. So this is what we're looking at is, this is actually some exact stuff that was from Sabri Subi's Sell Like Crazy book. So then the end result is writing a paragraph summarizing your findings. So he had done was as an example, Sally loves spending time, la da 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 da. I'm not gonna read all this. But it just kind of gives that like, that story of this person, and it just reflects and translates to all of the copy that you write moving forward. Any questions on this?
This is something that could be like delegated, right? Like you could have someone gather all the research and then, you know, you can analyze it and continue on from there. Absolutely.
In Autonomy Unlimited, we have several people that work on audience research. And so we will delegate different pieces of this to different people. And sometimes we'll have like 3 of us, like we had, I think, 3 of us working on this Halo strategy at one time. It's great to get like lots of different angles. You know, one person can find things that the other person didn't. So, and yes, delegating, I love the research part. I have to be careful with where I'm putting my own time, because a lot of the stuff that I really specialize in is stuff that's after this research has been conducted. So there are some times when I will delegate this task off to somebody else, and then I will be able to go through and analyze and look at all this research and then put it into action. So I'm going to run through. So then the last piece that I want to talk about today was features and benefits. And this is definitely, this is a phase that I'd like to say after the Halo research. It kind of could be done anytime, but you know, there's that saying, you know, features tell and benefits sell. When we're writing copy and we're speaking to people, especially when we're wanting them to take some kind of action, we need to get them invested in what is it going to do for them. They don't care who you are. They don't care about your qualifications. They don't care about the little nitty-gritty details about what you're offering. They care about how it's going to help them. So when we're writing copy, we need to be speaking in benefits and exactly what you're offering is going to help them and make a difference in their life. So how do we do that? We create a features and benefits list. And I also created a template in your resources for this as well. And this is really simple, a 2-column list. And the process for this, what I recommend doing and what Sabri Subi recommends is to think about your service, your business, or if it's a client's, you know, what they're offering. List out absolutely every single feature that you can possibly think of that you're offering. First, just list them all out, and then one at a time, go through and match and think about the benefit for each one. So each one that you see, you say, okay, so what's it going to do for them? And then and then list out the benefits. And I've got some examples to show you on how this will look. Which one did I pull up for this one? So this is for a client of mine that she does some somatic respiratory integration, SRI. She does some different, she does growth workshops, lots of like motivational work, lots of energy healing work. So I got her to help me with this. This is actually one I really love to delegate this task to the client and help them, because the clients are usually, or if it's your own business, but I'll just use this example, the client's the one that's gonna know all the features of their business. You can help them flesh it out, but they're the ones that are really going to know all of those little features about their business. So I gave her some guidance on one of these. So we had, she had different kinds of workshops that she offered. So I set this up for her, and then, you know, said, so after experiencing one of your workshops, what will they have? What will they feel? And she was able to go through and identify all of these different benefits for each one. And this is where you can, let's see, do another example for you. So this is one where I did just kind of one line and one line. This is for Test Drive Your Future. So we had these different features of the online course, and then I matched each one with a single corresponding benefit. But oftentimes there will be multiple benefits for a single feature. So I definitely don't like to limit to just one. So, you know, there's 40 plus lessons based on their test drive process. There's a lot of benefits that could be included in there. So I just made sure to leave some space and have those listed out. We've got one for autonomy. And Richard has been using this has been using the research that we've done on these features and benefits to help in writing his email campaigns. So this is the value of creating a features and benefits list. I cannot stress enough how valuable this is to all of your marketing efforts moving forward. Having this place that you can just go back to grab these benefit statements, it just makes everything flow so much easier later down the road. So we've got, you know, there's all sorts, you know, live lectures. Man, there's so many benefits that we can think of for these live lectures. Even certain phrases that we use, like unlock your potential, that could be considered a benefit. I decided to categorize it like a feature. You know, discover what you're capable of. Live Q&A sessions, integration exercises. So all of these different benefits that come along with these single features. And this one we went full out with this one. This one pretty far.
You told me with my sales exercise right there.
Mm-hmm. And then I've got one more example to show you. So Homer with Convergent Wells, he like knocked it out of the park this week when I assigned him to do his features and benefits list, and he came back at me with this. Now he actually went through, not only did he do his features and his benefits, he linked every single one to a place on the Halo research. These are the exact vernacular that we put in to the Halo research, and he matched each and every one of these with a corresponding feature and benefit. And this was just like, I was sitting there just like applauding. Like, he really took this to the next level. And, you know, we're getting ready to create his high value content offers, AKA lead magnets, this week. And this is all going to be incredibly helpful with putting this together. So I just wanted to show that as an extra knocking out of the park example of something I hadn't seen before, of linking it like this with the Halo. So that was really, really valuable. And I'm excited to be diving into this more in this next week. Well, I think 10:03, well, my time anyway, 10:03. All right, I got through it. Yay! So we've got your, you got your action items. Definitely, if you haven't, I recommend getting Sabri's book. Very, very valuable resources from his book. Answer the Public. I absolutely love this site. And then your practice assignment, if you so choose, is to this week, go do some research. Pick an industry. It could be for your own project or business, something that you're hoping to get into. It could be for autonomy, any industry that interests you. And so spend some time doing some research and exploring your industry, and then organize your findings. Go through, go into the resources, make a copy of that template for yourself, or download it and fill it up, or get a little start if you feel up to it. Extra practice is, you know, if you could see if you can answer the 9 questions to define your dream buyer. I didn't list it on here, but the features and benefits is another extra activity that you could do. I'd love to hear what this experience is like for you next week. So I invite you to do some research, even if it's just like a half hour of your time. Do a little bit of research and just let me know how it goes. See if you found any unexpected insights, anything that surprised you that you weren't aware of. And I would love to go through some of this with you next week.
Question for you, Madam Copy Boss.
Please.
Are you planning to call out for volunteers for the Tuesday meeting, or do you think that...
Thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome, Madam Copy Boss.
So what Agnieszka is referring to is that we've been tasked. So as was also announced last night by Richard, we're going to be moving autonomy from Teachable onto Kajabi. And so part of that is transferring content. We've been in the process of doing that. And then we have the course landing page that's on Kajabi needs some work. So Agnieszka and I have been tasked with doing some improvements and possibly even rewriting the whole dang thing. We are going to be doing that on Tuesday. I will, after we're done here, I'll put an official announcement out there so you can save the dates in your calendar, but it's going to be Tuesday. It's, I believe, noon my time, so 3 p.m. Eastern time. And you're welcome to come and either be a fly on the wall or contribute, but we're going to go through and have a working meeting, and we're going to do some improvements on that landing page. So it could be a really fun learning experience. And we also invite any feedback.
We need more brains.
We need more brains. Yeah.
We like brains.
We like brains.
Kara, you know, in regard to just an overview of researching, is there, I'm kind of looking for, like, what are the fun things, or what are the exciting things, or what are the interesting things that you find when you're doing research? Is there things that you really find interesting or enlightening that may be motivating for people that are, you know, like looking at it and they're saying, ah, man, this is kind of difficult?
Well, and I would say it would definitely, researching something that you're interested in is always really helpful. You know, I oftentimes have to do this for clients that maybe it's not always something that I'm super interested in, but I enjoy research.
And you're getting paid at the end of the day.
That is also a good motivator, you know, getting paid. I personally, I really enjoy getting into people's heads and really getting into these, like, nitty gritty, into the comments, and like really finding out what's going on in people's heads. It's not something that used to interest me. I think just getting into this business and becoming a copywriter has really opened that up for me. So I find a lot more joy in the process now. So it can, I can see how it might seem a little nitty gritty, maybe a little not as much fun. I invite you to give it a shot. That's, I guess, yeah.
I saw what Tori did there with the, you know, like really getting into detail about their
psyche,
about the you know, best client. And, you know, it is kind of like creating a character almost in a kind of a writing exercise. So maybe that, I was thinking, you know, it looked to me like she had fun with doing that.
And
maybe
she
that was
also,
her mindset.
And she also has, she really enjoys the industry that she's working on it for. So there's a lot of enjoyment in that as well. I mean, I will say, you know, if it's something, if it's an industry that you are not a fan of, that you don't really like, you might not be motivated to go that in depth with, like, for example, like the 9 questions and creating your whole dream buyer avatar. And for that example, I mean, she really went all out. So I don't want to set that as like the base standard for somebody doing that kind of worksheet. I mean, if you can just have for each one of those 9 questions, either some, you know, just some bullet points to give you an idea, or, you know, just a really short paragraph, that's great. That's fine.
Richard convinced me yesterday that I should specialize in my copywriting, though, because I am a jack of all trades, and I was trying to do everything for everybody, and I was doing B2B, and I was finding it more difficult. And then yesterday's lecture, I was like, that's what I'm doing wrong. I'm being like, I'm capable for 10 years of being everything to everybody. So you can do that. It's not the best use of my time, because it takes longer to write things. For me personally, it takes longer to write things I'm not specialized in. It's like even yesterday when I was like, oh, you know, how do workout people feel about this? Hi, Eric. How do workout people, what words do workout people use? You know what I mean? Because it's not necessarily something that I do all the time, but like holistic well-being or whatever, that's like,
Mhm.
Well, that video that we saw last night, the lady copywriter, she was suggesting that, you find an industry that you love, and then you really get into that, and that's where you really start to demonstrate your capability and earning potential, is when you really know an industry well. I also, when I was doing research for writing, I found a lecture from the University of Chicago that really goes into like these power words, and like finding the power words that an industry uses, and then just peppering those into any article can make an incredible difference in its like ability to be read, and then its influence. But I'll forward that to you, because I think it's an excellent lecture, or I'll put it on the writing thing. But it really kind of speaks to all the things that you've been talking about here. Listening to that lecture a couple of years ago, and then hearing it now, I'm seeing so many connections.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up. So for anyone here that's interested in this and wants to do some research throughout the week, I highly recommend pick something that you're interested in. Pick an industry that interests you, because especially for this first round through and just kind of getting the hang of like where to search and, figuring out what you're looking for, I want this to be an enjoyable experience. So please, please pick something that really does interest you, so that you can have fun with this, because if you pick something right off the bat for your first time, that's either too much pressure, just something that you're not really interested in, too far out of your realm, it's not going to be that fun. This is getting into a group. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Please pick something that interests you this week.
I got to take off, you guys, because the book club is already started and we're having another awesome discussion, and I better be there because I'm missing out.
I know, and I went over our time, so we will wrap up here.
No, it's only like once every 2 weeks or once a month, but today it's one of those days.
Once every 2 weeks.
Thanks, Agnieszka.
Thank you so much, Kara.
Time is a mystery to me. Thank you, Kara.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Well, anybody have any last questions, thoughts, comments before we wrap up today?
Just that this was really useful and really excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the first time that I have attempted to teach this process of audience research. So I really hope that it was valuable and that I didn't stumble too much in the process.
Well, I am going to watch the replay and take notes again, but yeah, I'll do my homework this week too.
Yeah, this was incredibly valuable, and I love the way that you're kind of structuring this, so we can kind of get an overview of what's going on, and then you go back through it. I really, also the way that you're going about, giving us the ideas and then giving us examples of that, really powerful stuff. You're an excellent teacher, Kara. Really
thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
Yeah, to piggyback off Mike, yeah, you're definitely in your element. And I appreciate the show notes, man. Those are going to be extremely helpful, and all the notes that you've been providing, and the PDFs and all that stuff. That's great. Thank you so much.
Just wanted to concur that it's really high value. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, or whatever day and time it may be for you right now. And we'll convene again next week. If you have any questions, or you get stuck throughout the week, send me a message on Discord. I would love to help. All right. Bye, everybody.